Okay, so hi everyone, welcome on board. Today we have with us Himangi ma'am, who is here from Somaiya Institute of Management, and she comes with a lot of expertise in human resource management, and that's why we are going to be troubling ma'am to help us give some insights from a panelist perspective. What do you look forward to when you take personal interviews?
Okay. So the first thing that the aspirant should understand is the panel interview actually has a panel, and the panel is very diverse. It comprises of someone who's an academician, perhaps someone who's an alumni, and also someone who's an industry expert, right? The panel is also diverse in terms of their specialization. So there could be someone from marketing, there could be someone from IT, there could be someone from HR. Now, what they are looking out for in a candidate is, so it's a process of knowing more about the candidate, right from the outward to more details about the inside of the candidate. So, prima facie, as the candidate enters a room, if it had been an offline sort of a thing, then you notice certain things, type of clothes, the type of, the confidence, the type of, the way he greets, the way he conducts himself. So a lot of non-verbal gestures, initially at the initial stage. And then, it's a process of questioning. So normally in the first 1 minute or two, the panel tries to make the candidate comfortable. If they see that the candidate is slightly nervous, because very often it happens that students are a little nervous. So it's like generic question, like, okay, tell us about yourself. Now tell us about yourself. We already have a biodata of the student, so it's like we have some information already there. Now tell us about yourself is a way of knowing something which is perhaps not there in the biodata, and something which is relevant for the course that or the program that he is applying for. Okay. And also to sort of understand the level of his communication skill. So that's the first thing. I mean, a simple question as tell me about yourself. And for that, very often the candidate just keeps telling about the name and the year and that sort of thing. That data we already have. So besides, so they are supposed to tell something which is unique, which makes their candidature, strong for that sort of a program. So that is how it begins. And then slowly it begins with, okay, what have you done? I mean, if the person has a work experience, then what sort of company the person worked for, what sort of role he had, whether he had any, any particular instance where he had a difficulty and how did he come out of it. Now, these are way of understanding more about the way the candidate has approached problems in his life, real life problems, and how was he able to solve them, whether he was able to solve them, whether he was not able to solve them. But the idea is to understand his approach, right? So we need to know, what is it that makes this candidate tick? I mean, his motives, his ability, his thought processes, what sort of performance he had in the past. Now, if the panel comprises of an alumni, perhaps they would also look at a culture fit, what sort of values, this candidate has, and, whether he would have the necessary aptitude to conduct or perhaps have potential to take on the jobs which will be there at the end of the 2 years of journey. So it is more of, knowing more of the candidate in terms of their current performance, whatever they had done, their motives, their aspirations, perhaps a culture fit, and their potential. So that is what, I mean, I know this is a little high stretch, but then the panel is very, rigorous, and they do have all types of questions when they, when they have the candidate in front of them.
Lovely. That was very insightful. And, like all the aspects which you have covered. Ma'am, if I were to ask you, like, what would be one question which makes you get the maximum idea about the candidates, like something you would ask every candidate?
Okay. So so simple things would be, general awareness, what is happening in the world. So we don't really ask questions about politics and all, but general awareness, little bit about general awareness. uh, we look at the academic performance, because that also gives little bit of information about consistency of the candidate, whether the performance has been a straight line, whether it is a slope which is small slope or a very steep slope. So that gives or it's a zigzag, so it gives more information. But uh, normally, Mike, if I were to ask, I normally ask if the person had a work experience, what sort of problem he encountered and how did he solve that. This is if it is regard to work. If they happen to tell about certain activities which perhaps indicate some leadership position, then how did they go about managing it?
Okay.
What sort of competencies are revealed in terms of perhaps dealing with other individuals, maybe team sort of teamwork, or collaborating with other individuals. So these sort of questions come out, because the point is, when a candidate makes an assertion that this is what I did, then perhaps I would want to have an evidence of that assertion in terms of a concrete episode, which I can say, okay, yes, whatever he's saying seems to be more authentic, because we're looking at authenticity.
Yeah.
And if that had really happened in his life, it would come out as a very, very authentic episode.
Lovely. That was really very important. I think, guys, that's why we always say that, you should have examples to justify anything and everything that you have done. So that's really interesting. Ma'am, since you spoke so much about, the thought process and the problem solving is very significant when you're looking at candidates. Ma'am,
Yes.
does the same apply even to when we have case analysis? Like, most of us are nowadays going to have written case analysis and, that approach towards it. Is that also what we look in such kind of case analysis?
Yeah. So now they get caselets. These are small sort of a paragraphs which are debatable on both sides, actually speaking,
Okay,
right? Now the point is, it's not about victory. It's not about who won.
correct.
It's about how you conducted yourself during that 10 minutes, right? Now, very often, I mean, if you would be lucky if you know something about that topic in detail. Nobody expects you to give statistics, right? Or percentages. If you
Correct.
know, fine. Honestly speaking, that in itself is not a criteria for getting high marks on case analysis. But what is a criteria is, how do you constructively take the case argument to the next level? Because right from the initial stage, where so normally a caselet has a question, it's a very focused question. So the panelists are trying to see whether your discussion, or at least which are the members who are trying to answer that question. That is the first thing. Whether the answer is reaching to higher level of reflection and thought, whether they are involving the other members. That's first thing. A lot of other things also come out as part of case discussion, is perhaps sometimes someone is aggressive, they cut out someone, or they are loud unnecessarily, or some people just repeat what others have said, or some people take on the role of trying to just summarize what others have said. So summarizing is good, that's nice, but the point is, at the end of the summarization, you need to take it to the next level. That means you need to have something concrete which takes the discussion to the next level. Now, these sort of things, if it becomes apparent in the discussion, then you have a candidate here, right? We would like to have someone who is involving others, allowing others to speak, at the same time is able to assert himself, and is aware of the topic, uh, and is able to constructively build the arguments, and close in time,
Okay.
right? Close in time. That's so it's not about more air time, honestly speaking. It's about
The point.
how valuable, what sort of valuable insights you have given in the case. So not all cases are, about problem. It could be just a discussion where both sides have their own merits, and you just need to bring it out, clearly.
Okay, that was great. Ma'am, one last question before we let you go is, so ma'am, due to the COVID situation now, things are not going to be offline. Everything is online. My interview is happening online. The case discussion is moving to a written case submission, like a individual analysis. So how do you see this kind of changing any dynamics in terms of evaluation? Like, how are going to we see the body language we could have seen before, like the confidence and the group dynamics? How do we judge those parameters now?
So honestly, the group dynamic comes very much as part of the communication. Right? Okay, we'll not be able to see too much of a body language, but we will be able to hear the voice. We will be able to hear the tone. We will be able to know the words. We will be able to see subtle insinuations. All those things are definitely there in a video sort of a GD. The only thing which will perhaps miss is the time when the candidate walks in. But other than that, I think all other things would be are measurable, are observable, and will be recorded, obviously, to make our own final evaluation of, or the assessment of the candidate.
Okay, that was really awesome. Thank you so much, Himangi ma'am, for spending time with us. It was our pleasure to have you on board today.
Always there to help the aspirants, and wishing all of them good luck and stay safe.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you.
Okay. Bye.